coming days. Let me say just briefly in Spanish as well.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click.
Peter?
Thank you, President.
Anyway, Trump is backing away from some of the crackdowns, apparently, because industry leaders went to him and were like, what the fuck are you doing? You're actually impacting our bottom line. No shit. Not exactly sure what this will look like. Not exactly sure what kind of scale backs will take place. But this is part of the reason why I said, don't say taco here, guys. Come on. This is part of the reason why I said mass deportation, the way that these guys envisioned it, will not happen because it harms the bottom line far too much. From their perspective, from their calculation, it's good to shit on migrants because business owners rely on migrants being a permanent underclass, constantly in legal limbo, not getting their citizenship, so they can't actually actively fight for better wages and better workplace protections. They can be discarded and disposed of when companies no longer, or when companies feel like they want too much, like back pay, or they complain too much about sexual harassment and sexual violence that takes place in the assembly line. And they can just discard of them by calling ICE on themselves, only to turn around and bring in a fresh crop of undocumented migrants. And this means that ultimately the Trump administration is not white supremacist enough to fully go through with full purges of all undocumented migrants in the country, because ultimately the real reason why that white supremacist, white nativist, anti-migrant, anti-immigration agenda, the reason why it's used and utilized is so that capital owners can continue maintaining a crop of undocumented migrants to begin with. It's still ultimately for capital. It's still ultimately for the profit margins. If they were racist enough, like if they were real ass racists, didn't you say this wasn't the case the other stream? No, I have maintained the position that full tilt mass deportation is concentration camps, and it would absolutely destroy the economy. And therefore, they won't go through with this. They won't go through with the full agenda. They don't even have the logistics to go through with it. They don't have enough people to go through with it. But ultimately, beyond the cruelty, beyond the inhumane nature, and beyond the logistical issues. Yes, Aviva Chomsky talks about this in her book, Undocumented: How Immigration Became Illegal. I think it's a really, really important work, and I highly recommend you guys all read it if you have the opportunity. Aviva Chomsky is one of Noam Chomsky's children, for those of you who don't know, but that is exactly what I'm talking about. That is what I'm referencing when I talk about this issue. Immigration, like flows of migration, will always happen due to the instability that we cause in the global south and due to climate change. And therefore, we will always have a hyper exploited underclass, a permanent underclass of laborers, but they can only remain a permanent underclass of laborers, which also has the capacity to depress wages for the documented workforce as well, because there's constantly people that will do the same job, if not better, work longer hours for pennies on the dollar, as opposed to the documented American laborer, that they can only maintain this structure as long as there is reactionary sentiment, dehumanization, and no pathway to citizenship for these people, okay? Because if they were to become full-blown citizens, then they would be able to better advocate for their own needs, their desires. They would have better workplace protections. They would not have to constantly worry about being ripped away from their family and loved ones. That's why I always say the real solution to this problem is to expedite and offer conditional amnesty to every single migrant in this country, which is an overwhelmingly popular alternative to mass deportation. If you actually want to improve the wages and living standards of American workers, that is what you're supposed to do. Because the alternative is not real. It's not a real alternative at all. The notion that you are going to set up concentration camps and pack every single migrant into these concentration camps. Did you say conditional amnesty? Yes, I say conditional amnesty, as in like work through people's backgrounds. Like obviously offering a background check in the process of amnesty is the appropriate thing to do. And the reason why I say that is because, and this doesn't mean that there's going to be a tremendous number of fucking criminal, it's not like there are, there aren't a tremendous number of criminals in the population of undocumented migrants. Anyway, let's just watch.
First, on immigration, what made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, you know, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, you know, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you know, you go into a farm and you look and people don't, they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed...
Bro, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the Republicans going, abortion is murder. And then once Roe v. Wade is overturned, turning around and being like, okay, well, maybe murder is fine in cases of incest or in cases of rape or when there's severe harm to the carrier's life. And basically winding their way back down to the position that already existed with abortion protections. Obviously, it's not the same for every state, and it's still awful for many red states. But like this is exactly the same thing that's happening. It's like, oh, we're doing mass deportation. We are going to go after every single migrant. We're gonna fucking do concentration camps. It's gonna be awesome. Only to turn around and be like, okay, I guess not all of the people that we're deporting are criminals, because there aren't that many undeported criminals that are undocumented migrants to begin with, because obviously when someone does a crime on U.S. soil, they get fucking prosecuted. The idea that the Biden administration was simply letting undocumented migrants go after doing heinous crimes is so psychotic. It was never real, and the Democrats couldn't even fucking defend that on principle for some weird reason. But it's just like they're just unwinding back to the previous position, but tens of thousands of lives are harmed along the way because these dipshits treat human beings like numbers. Like, it's just simply a pawn. It's simply a pawn for a political message that you want to defend.
Supposed to throw them out, and you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
And my other question about the Middle East. As the Israelis apparently gear up for some kind of an attack, a possible attack on Iran, are you trying to talk Netanyahu out of doing that, or are you so against Iran having a nuclear weapon that you're okay, he does his thing because it is not an American war?
Yeah, it's a very fair question. Look, I want to have an agreement with Iran. We're fairly close to an agreement. We are fairly close to a pretty good agreement. It's got to be better than pretty good, though, but it's got to be...
This is very similar to the right-wing H-1B debate earlier this year. Yes, it is. It's identical. So much of the immigration issues The immigration issues are just completely constructed, hysteric narratives that are not born out of any sort of real vulnerability or any sort of real issue. It's simply just a made-up problem. That's why I always ask people, like, have you ever met an undocumented migrant? Have you ever met a migrant that's like waiting to become documented? Have you ever been harmed by an undocumented migrant in any meaningful fashion? Do you know how many people around you are migrants, documented and undocumented? It's a meme, but this TikTok basically fucking perfectly demonstrates like the Christian hypocrisy of it as well. I can't believe I'm going to point to fucking TikTok here, but hold on, let me see. I want to show this to you because I reposted it.
Lord, please deport the illegal immigrant dishwasher at my local Italian restaurant and separate him from his family so I can feel safe again.
That's it. Like, that's it. That's what you're advocating for. Your advocacy revolves around like forcibly removing a person that is not doing any harm, but unironically is a productive, sometimes more productive member of society than you, working pennies on the dollar. You want them to be removed because you've been duped into believing that like somehow they are responsible for all of the pressures that you experience. Some people genuinely are white supremacists. They genuinely do think that, having more Mexicans in America or having more brown people in America is like ruining the social fabric. Okay, fuck those people. There's a bunch of people, on the other hand, who do legitimately believe the lies, right? That's the reason why you saw so many Hispanic voters vote for Donald Trump, because they thought maybe there are some like criminal migrants out there and this guy is gonna fucking deal with the criminal migrants, right? It's just scapegoating a vulnerable population that has no legal protections whatsoever for all of the actual systemic problems that exist in society. It is the fascist playbook. It is the exact same thing that the Nazis did. Identical, except instead of, the process of denaturalizing German Jews, we are refusing to naturalize people that have been here for years at this point. So the cruelty begins even before the enforcement. And then on top of that, now as a simple political calculation, we have decided that these people that we have used and abused are now they're now going to be swept away, like discarded, like they're pieces of trash, simply for political points, for political posturing, for some of the dumbest, most racist motherfuckers in society. Some of those dudes who became that racist because you kept lying about the most used and abused people in America's society were actually criminals. And of course, as we know how orbit works, now that Trump is coming out and saying, yeah, maybe we shouldn't actually, maybe we shouldn't actually deport all the migrant workers. That's really hurting the economy. Every single dumb fuck that said, we voted for this, will then turn around and go, yeah, isn't my president so beautiful and so brave and so empathetic? See?
Much prefer an agreement. As long as I think there is an agreement, I don't want them going in because I think that would blow it. Might help it, actually, but it also could blow it. But we've had very good discussions with Iran. Whether or not we get there, I can't tell you, but it'll happen soon.
I genuinely don't understand the physical machinations of racism within thinking others are lower than you. I understand it as a concept, yes, the whole 99% of it, just not the thinking. Maybe it's simply because I care another. No, first of all, I totally get it. No, it's the most effective way to make people make inferiority complex adult people feel superior. That's it. As long as there's someone beneath you, as long as there's someone you can dominate, you forget who actually controls your existence. It's divide and conquer. It's the easiest method of all time. It is the most successful method of control. you feel inferior. You feel like you're fucked over. You feel like you're not getting what you deserve. You have no control over your life. You go to work and you make money for a boss you'll never see. Your manager, working at the behest of your boss, tells you what you can and can't do. You spend 80% of your adult life in this structure. You despise everything that's going on. You have no free time. You have no disposable income. You have no savings, right? Everything is more and more expensive. You don't even have the opportunity to meet a girl and maybe get married, maybe have children, all of those things, or own a home. All those things that you thought you would get, you are no longer getting. You're angry all the fucking time. But as long as there's someone that people in positions of power can point to say, this is the reason why you're angry, it's because undocumented migrants are bad, you can at least feel a little bit more self-assured, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit like, hey, you know, as long as there's someone beneath me, I'm doing all right. That's it. My primary responsibility, my primary goal is to explain to people, to those who will listen, to those who will exhibit charitability here, that it is not the undocumented migrant that's fucking you over. It's your bosses. It's your landlord. It's those with power in society, those who own capital. The marginal amount of capital that you own in the form of a 401k is only making you feel like you're invested in the stock market and the success and the continuation of super profits for mega corporations, when in fact, the system that we have designed with endless greed of capital owners in mind is the same system that refuses to give you the amenities that you deserve, the amenities that everyone deserves, the amenities that we could certainly for in this country. It's the wealthy on the fucking planet. Think about all the endless bounty of technological advancement, and then think about in 2025 the fact that in the United States of America you still don't have free healthcare. Every other fucking country has free healthcare. Every other OECD nation has free healthcare. You don't. But as long as you think that undocumented migrants are the reason for this, or undocumented migrants are what you should pay attention to, rather, you will never fight for that. Because fighting for that is what unites everyone, regardless of their political allegiances. Fighting for things like that is the most terrifying prospect for capital owners, for those who actually seek to turn super profits out of privatizing healthcare, creating a structure of for-profit healthcare. It's just one issue, by the way. That's just one issue. There's so many other problems similar to this. Housing has the exact same issues. But that's it. They want to keep you dumb. They want to keep you angry. They want to keep you servile. And they wanted to keep you angry at your neighbor rather than those who have fucked you over. This is why I always say class consciousness is incredibly important and is unfortunately not so common here in the United States of America. But yeah, I digress. Let's get back to Donald Trump talking about Iran.
Soon. I say this, Peter, very strongly. They can't have, whether it's going in or not going in, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I'd prefer the more friendly path.
And can you tell us what the Israelis told you that made you start to evacuate the dependents of servicemen and women who are stationed in the Middle East?
They didn't tell me anything, but I said, look, there's a chance of massive conflict. We have a lot of American people in this area, and I said, we got to tell them to get out because something could happen soon. And I don't want to be the one that didn't give any warning and missiles are flying into their buildings. It's possible. So I had to do it. I had the choice. Do I do it or not? Doing it has its downside, but it also has its upside. Like, you're going to save a lot of lives if it should happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Right? Thank you.
Mr. President, for Americans that are coming to Washington on Saturday, military
It's
parade.
going to be a great day.
What would you like folks to take away from that day? What would you hope that they would remember? And also,
How
Mr.
great
President,
our country is, and how strong our military is. We have the strongest military in the world. You know, it's very interesting. 3 weeks ago, it was the end of world anniversary, end of World War II.
End of
And
the
I
world
called
anniversary.
Macron, who's a good man, I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "We're celebrating World War II, our victory." I said, "Your victory? Your victory? Tell me about that." And then I called somebody else, and I happened to speak to President Putin at the time. Now, in all fairness to him, he lost 51 million people, and he did fight. Russia fought. Sort of interesting, isn't it? He fought with us in World War II, and everybody hates him. And Germany and Japan, they're fine. You know, someday somebody will.
Okay, this is I hate to recognize this as perhaps one of the coolest things that an American president has ever said, especially because it is correct. Attributing that to Vladimir Putin is bullshit. Obviously, it is the USSR. It is their victory to celebrate. He's not wrong. I've never heard an American president actually openly state openly state historical facts like this. I guess he's doing it in the JFK, sure. I guess what I'm saying is Donald Trump is once again saying the truth, but also for the wrong reasons. He's saying the truth about the USSR, but only because I think he just loves Vladimir Putin and he wanted to attribute that to Vladimir Putin while simultaneously insulting Europe. Two things that he likes. He likes sucking off Adolf Hitler, and he also loves to shit on the dumb libs in Europe. So this caused him to arrive at the correct historical assessment.
Will explain that, but I like Germany and Japan too. But Putin is a little confused by that, you know. He said, we lost 51 million people and we were your ally, and now everybody hates Russia and they love Germany and Japan. I said, let's explain that sometime.
Also, 51 million dead is incorrect. Yeah, wasn't it like, I think it was like 30, right? I mean, I guess 51 with the concentration camps and also total number dead in the Eastern Front. I think it's 22 million or 27 million. It was a lot. It just wasn't 50 million. I don't know what he was adding on. I don't even know if it actually... Dude, he's doing victims of communism numbers, but this time, victims of Nazism. He's like, that's right, Nazi Germany killed 100 billion Russians in the USSR. I have the numbers. He's doing, here it is, Black Book of Fascism. Folks, believe me, JD Pondon, you already know I got the Black Book of Fascism right here. They're calling it the reverse Gulag Archipelago. This time it's a former Nazi. He wrote it. He wrote about the crimes of the Nazis. He talked about how many children would have been born in the USSR and added it on to the collective total of dead. I like this number. 100 gorillion.
Okay, but it's a strange world. But I will say this, look, I want them to go away saying how great our country is and how great our military is. And I was making all these calls. For some reason, I spoke to like 4 different places. Sir, are you celebrating?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, not all of the USSR casualties were not Russian. But, that's another thing. Also, Vladimir Putin had nothing to do with World War II. Obviously, he's not. He wasn't around.
We won World War II and World War I, right? We won them. And yet we're the only country that doesn't celebrate. Everybody's celebrating except us. And I said, we should celebrate too.
There are several No Kings protests planned across the country on Saturday as well. What are your thoughts on those?
What do they go? No king?
No Kings.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved. A king would say, I'm not going to get this. A king would have never had the California mandate to even be talking to him. He wouldn't have to call up Mike Johnson and Thune and say, fellas, you got to pull this off, and after years we get it done. No, we're not a king. We're not a king at all. Thank you very much. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir,
Go ahead.
Mr. President, sir, you made a lengthy posting today on Truth Social about Senator Rand Paul. Do you expect to see him at the picnic tonight, sir?
I do. I look forward to seeing him, actually. I like him. He's the hardest vote in the history of the U.S. Senate to get. Probably won't get him, but he's a very tough vote. I mean, he's a very tough vote. He's always been a friend of mine. You know, I endorsed him and got him elected. I got him elected twice. But I don't think he understands how great this bill is. This is a great bill. No tax on tips, no tax on, you know, the Social Security payments. It's unbelievable what happens. No tax on overtime. You work overtime, no more tax. It's so, those are big, but they're minor compared to the big things. Taxes reduced. And let's look at the other side. If it doesn't get approved, a 68% tax increase, 68%, including the fact that the Trump tax cuts kick in. But it's a 68% tax increase and many other bad things. I don't even want to, some of them are so bad I don't even want to talk about them. I think it's one of the greatest bills we'll ever pass in this country. And I think that Leader Thune and this gentleman right here, what he's gone through on this with, you know, we started off with a majority of 1. Now I guess we have 7. So it's like easier, but it's really sort of 3. It's 7, but it really equates to 3, right? And we have great support. I mean, I can't tell you, I can't guarantee, but when you have a majority of essentially 3, where you can't lose anything more than 3 votes, and you get it passed, it's pretty amazing. And I think it's going to haunt the Democrats because most of the bill is common sense. It's tax cuts, it's border wall funding, it's military funding properly spent. It's all things that are like common sense. They're all good. There's nothing.
It's great. Everything that the Republicans do is common sense. It's common sense to physically and violently apprehend and detain a sitting U.S. senator. It's common sense. Come on. Military parades, common sense. To be fair, I don't really mind the military parade. I think that's like one of the cooler aspects of, you know, North Korea and the like. Come on. It's common sense. Of course, we're going to rip away people that have been contributors to American society and the American economy in incredibly meaningful ways from their friends and family, simply as political pawns and a political message to give the cackling hyenas in my base, the 20% that really want to fucking kill Mexicans, we're going to give them something, right? It's common sense. It's all common sense. It's common sense. Just like it's common sense to do tax cuts for the super wealthy. And in order to play around with the deficit, what we got to do is we got to make it harder for the working poor to get a leg up. We got to make it harder for the starving children to get SNAP benefits. You don't need food, 7-year-old baby. You need a job. Come on. Put on those bootstraps and get to work. It's common sense to implode global trade after designing it in a way that benefits our interests. As the largest consumption engine on the planet, simply because I'm bored, because I want to decouple from China, I will not build a robust manufacturing base beforehand. I don't have any trade to protect, but I will protect it. It's common sense. Yeah, it's common sense to subscribe at the top of the hour for $6 or for free. This broadcast is sponsored by you, the viewers. This broadcast is for you, the viewers, and sponsored by you, the viewers. The Piker Broadcasting Service, PBS, for $6 a month or for free with a Twitch Prime or with your voluntary contributions in the form of gifted subs. The Piker Broadcasting Service, also known as PBS, will continue to maintain its editorial independence. Hassas Freckles, thank you for the 10 gifted. Ebb and Flow, thank you for the 5 gifted. Hassas New Pharmacist, thank you for the 10 gifted. Real 32 Phil, thank you for the holy moly. Time Lapse, thank you for the 5. Douche Canoe, thank you for the 5. Adrian is online, thank you for the 25. Xylex, thank you for the 100 gifted subs. Kizant, thank you for the 5.
Tricky about it. It's basic stuff. And we don't intend on getting one.
Busy
think of
poop,
it,
green
not
bass
one
guy.
Democrat vote in the House. Mike, not one. Maybe somebody will come along. I don't know how they can run for office. So many different things. We're gonna very important.
X Arthur
Medicare
and
Medicaid
Dracule 06.
are going to be strengthened.
Turbo Daddy.
Not hurt. You know, they're using fake narrative. Oh, we're going to. No, they're going to be strengthened. We're going to strengthen them. They're going to destroy them because under their policies, Medicare and Medicaid go away. Social Security under them is going to be devastated. With us, it's going to be kept, but much stronger than before. And very interesting.
Ed T. Wiley, Pokemon,
I saw
LaCrux.
this, and I proved it because for 4
Kite Line
years,
Games, thank
I
you for the
never
10.
hurt Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security. I've already been there. But they're going to destroy Medicare.
By the way, he's literally, again, I wasn't even exaggerating when I said it's just common sense. They're going to destroy Medicare. That's why we have to cut it. That's why we have to cut it ahead of time so that we can justify through the CBO a ginormous tax cuts for the super wealthy. And also, of course, an increase in expenditure for the military.
And Social Security. They're going to wipe them out, in my opinion, because their policies are so bad, the country will have no money to pay for them. We're going to make them stronger than ever before. Thank you very much, everybody.